Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Mike Dolce Knows channel, your go-to source for honest, actionable, and evidence-based information to dramatically improve your life. Now, I apologize for the background, the light over my shoulder, and maybe some of the noise of my two young children running around the house. But this video is actually about what I'm doing right now, cardio. But really, I want to comment on a video I just watched by Dr. Mike Isratel of Renaissance Periodization. See, as I got onto my elliptical machine and as I plugged in my information, I pulled up my YouTube channel and I saw there's a video from Dr. Mike discussing cardio as being maybe not ideal for fat loss. Well, heck, I better take a listen to this so I don't waste 30 minutes riding this gray horse in my home gym. Now, as I watched the video, I noted a few areas of critique. And I say this with respect because I like Dr. Mike, I respect Dr. Mike, and I think Dr. Mike brings a lot of great points. So, allow this video to just offer a counterpoint. Consider the evidence-based information I'm about to share with you. Now, Dr. Mike has a very good video, and I suggest you all listen. I will link it below. And in this video, he basically dismisses the benefits of elective cardiovascular activity as being not necessary for fat loss. Now, I don't have the video in front of me, and I'm going to be speaking kind of free flow from what I remember. So I apologize. Again, watch the video for an accurate take on exactly what Mike says, but temper his thoughts with my own to determine what's ideal for you. Basically, Dr. Mike says you don't need cardiovascular activity, I should say intentional cardiovascular activity, to lose body fat when you can simply reduce calories. And he goes on to discuss the true barometer of fat loss, which is calories in, calories out. And we agree with that. Conceptually, the way to create a caloric deficit through the calorie out portion, well, that's where we have a little bit of a disagreement. Dr. Mike appears to first go to caloric reduction. Those inside the Dolce Diet community, you know that the last thing we suggest is caloric reduction. What we focus on first is increasing calorie output through elective expenditure. Now, Dr. Mike and I both agree on NEAT, which is basically walking around, using your hands, standing up, pacing on your phone calls, sitting as little as possible, standing as much as possible, parking your car the last spot in the parking lot instead of waiting for the first spot to open up. Non-exercise associated thermogenesis, which is using more calories than you normally would in your regular life. And Dr. Mike suggests maybe getting, I believe it's a pedometer, which is a step counter. There's all sorts of wearables out there. I have one. I rarely pay attention to it because what I found was I typically, no matter what I do, I have about the same amount of steps throughout my given day. I'm a busy guy. As I said, I have two children under the age of 7 and 5 running around my house, married, home, property, yard work, run 3 different businesses. I'm up early. I try to go to bed at 9:30 at night because I'm that guy. But I'm about as busy as anyone else, and I like to work out. I love to work out, and I actually exercise every day. I have a standing desk. I try not to sit as much as possible. So I've pretty much maxed out my NEAT. Well, when I enter into a fat loss phase, as I'm in right now, for our summer shredded challenge, living here in New Jersey on the beautiful Atlantic Ocean, well, it's almost bathing suit time. In my world, it is bathing suit time. I'm the dude with his shirt off in February trying to channel the gods of summer to bless us with 85-degree weather. That being said, I am very specific in my protocol to burn fat, to hopefully maintain the muscle tissue I have, if not even build muscle tissue along the process. When I say lose fat, I only care about losing body fat percentage, not really about losing scale weight. That's an issue for another video. Dr. Mike basically wants us to reduce our calories. as the first step and to avoid cardio. And Dr. Mike feels that most people can't stick to a cardiovascular routine. Well, he cites running. I don't run. I have a bad hip, I have a bad back, and I just have a bad attitude with regards to running. I don't really enjoy it. I like to sprint, especially if I'm being chased by a bear. But outside of that, not really fun for me. I love to bike ride, and I live on the beach. So I can ride my bike right out of my garage, ride along the beach for a half hour, turn around and come home. And again, I can see all the bikinis and bathing suits out there. So it's not a horrible experience. My point is, if our first step is caloric reduction, very quickly we get to the point that we have to continue reducing calories. And once we reduce calories, we are reducing micronutrients and phytochemicals. And these are the building blocks of cellular health. And this is where I would get a little bit worried. Now, in our suggestion, we suggest keeping calories static, possibly increasing calories as we start to increase energy output. Now, we know, and I think, it's like I'm going through puberty again. We know, and Dr. Mike would probably agree, that when we lower calories, our metabolic rate will soon lower to meet the reduced caloric intake. Now, I haven't seen any data to show if we keep calories static or high, that the metabolic rate will go down if we increase expenditure. This is one way that we can work with our body's natural physiological desire to be optimal. But let's use the 500 calorie example that Dr. Mike had used. Here on this elliptical machine, in 30 minutes, I'll lose, at this low pace, I'll lose about 350 to 400 total calories. This is me, first thing in the morning, 30 minutes. I usually catch up on YouTube videos. I have my iPad. I start going through emails. I'll dictate responses to my emails. This is a great way for me to get a lot of my busy work out of the way. It's a great way to start the day. Now, Dr. Andrew Huberman on the Huberman Lab podcast recently discussed in great detail the benefits of cardiovascular activity with regards to fat loss. I'll put a link below this video also, which I found it to be very interesting. And Dr. Huberman agrees with what I say with regards to fasted cardio having a more efficient lipotropic effect on the stubborn fat cells. Again, that's time for another video, but I suggest watching 10 to 12 minutes of what Dr. Huberman discussed with regards to cardiovascular activity and the thermogenic lipotropic effects. Back to Dr. Isratel. Dr. Isratel and I both agree. Cleaning up the crap is the first thing we do. And if you remember here, the month of January, it was clean up the crap January, knowing summer is coming, the summer shredded season as we call it. 1, clean up the crap. 2, focus on high net nutrient, healthful whole foods spread over 4 basic meals throughout the day. Figure out what your total caloric need is, and in that time, we're simply looking for a static weight. 3, we focus then on starting to manage the macronutrients, keeping that protein fixed around 1 pound per gram of relatively lean body mass. During this period of time, we've never reduced calories. We've reduced the junk. We've increased calories with high net nutrient, healthful whole foods to make up that relative deficiency from taking the junk out. We were able to add more healthy foods, and we saw a body fat percentage drop. We also saw relatively static total body weight, scale weight, because now we were feeding the muscle tissue, which corresponds to a higher metabolic rate, increased energy activity through harder workouts, longer workouts, more intense workouts, and a drop in total body fat percentage. Kind of a recomp phase. Now moving on to cardiovascular activity, this is a great way to start chipping away at body fat loss while also improving cardiorespiratory, cardiovascular health. Now, you guys know we suggest all humans should go for a 30 to 60 minute walk every day of their life. I want you to live long and have high utility. Going for that 30 to 60 minute walk, hopefully in one bout, but also as my buddy Stan Efferding discusses, you can break that up throughout the day to improve insulin sensitivity. A 10-minute walk after meals, well, that's cardiovascular activity also, which kind of agrees with what Dr. Mike says, but also agrees with what we say, because he talks about getting steps in. We talk about performing intentional cardiovascular activity, so this is where the two worlds do blend. Now, let me close this video by saying, we would much rather you keep your calories static, consisting of high net nutrient, healthful, whole foods, real food, spread evenly throughout the day. Create a calorie deficit through neat, non-exercise associated thermogenesis, body movement, as Dr. Mike discusses, but also committing to intentional cardiovascular exercise. 30 minutes per day has proven to have a dramatic effect on all health outcomes, also performance outcomes, enhancing the aerobic base, and most definitely on body composition and aesthetic outcomes. Finding the time for 30 minutes per day is a part of living a healthy lifestyle. Now, where I do disagree with Dr. Mike, I disagree that it's easier to lower calories for the average person than to create a deficit through intentional cardiovascular activity. Most people, they drop the meal for a few days and then they binge, and then they binge, and then they binge. If they focus on a very simple walking program, elliptical program, bicycling program, what I've found through my practice, thousands and thousands of humans that we work with every year, we found those who actually commit to a lifestyle approach have a much greater sustainability when they're not focused on reducing calories. Because you drop calories by 500, that works for a few weeks, and then you plateau. As I said earlier, your metabolic rate comes down, but also you've lost body weight. So what happens? Well, now you have to drop another 500 calories. How many times can you do that before you are now too low? Maybe 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, definitely within 12 weeks. And that's really pushing that out. In our example, we don't want to reduce calories. We want to increase activity, which further allows your metabolic rate to stay higher, and we can drive that even higher once we start adding high intensity interval training that has the benefit of afterburn or EPOC, excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, which is a state of higher caloric expenditure while at rest due to the greater oxygen demands from the high-intensity interval training. This is another great way to blend LISS, the low-intensity steady-state cardiovascular activity, MISS, moderate-intensity steady-state cardiovascular activity, and HIT, high-intensity interval training. These three methods of cardiovascular activity are amazing for body recomposition, for athletic performance, but also for lifelong health. Here at the Dolce Diet, our goal is to live better longer. And I'm sure that's what Dr. Mike wants for you also. Again, this isn't a disagreement. This is more of two different approaches to the same basic outcome. I hope you appreciate this video. Dr. Mike, hello, if you see this video, much respect to you, my man. And until next time, boom!